This is the Survivors Club, Narcotics Anonymous, where we have all them righteous meetings. See if we can get our stuff together. Yeah. See the new smaller version of this now? Huh? See the smaller version of this now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Half this stuff cuts down to about here. Okay.
You may disagree, but I don't want it on this tape. That is, I'm an alcoholic and a net. If you're a member of NA, you're a net. You may also be an alcoholic, but that's one of the things we're trying to offer and try to change, because it's causing a lot of confusion among a lot of people. Okay? So I think if we can remember just that one thing, we'll be talking about NA, we're talking about our recovery, we're talking about our freedom and the way we handle it. And I think there could be, depending on whatever way it happens to be working out, it's naturally responsible, whatever way the Doug wants to hold the meeting or run the meeting or direct the meeting, to bring out the fact that these 12 steps are what we use. I think that most of us are well aware that the first 3 steps are more or less conditional steps. I'll just run through briefly just the way I look at them sometimes so that you can have some idea of what we're trying to do here. The first 3 steps are more or less conditional steps. And I think if you look into yourself, you'll find out that they were the first 3 in the beginning that sort of made you think. Which is one of the purposes of our whole fellowship, to make you think. But the first step, of course, you can only come in as a honest, desiring member by taking that first step. Okay? So this is one of the important parts. Steps, of course, 4, 5, and 6 are more or less the steps where we go into ourselves and see what we have to do, see who we are, what we are, where we're going now, that we are able to live in freedom. And then, of course, after the 7th step, we're beginning into relationships. How do we deal with those things in society, those things among our family and our friends that are being triggered sometimes in the past to make us use it? How do we relate to these things so that we may correct it and keep our freedom and enlarge on it and grow with it? Then, of course, the 10th, 11th, and 12th steps, I think most of us do accept them as working steps. These are the steps most of us use every day to work. I always generally like to say that the 10th step is a sort of an ongoing step, you know, or an outgoing would be a better, ongoing step. This is the one I keep on going with, you know. I look at myself any time during the day and I get in a bind of some kind, and I can make a decision. If I'm wrong, I can admit it. If I'm right, I can hang on to what I think is good. 11, of course, is that ingoing step. Each of us in our own way finds our own methods of prayer and meditation in order to help ourselves. This is the fundamentally individual part of our program. And that is the ingoing step. And of course, the number 12 is the outgoing step. This is what carries us out into society, out with other addicts, into the fellowship as a whole, trying to carry the message to other addicts, no matter where we find them or how they come to us. And then we try to practice these principles in all our affairs. Part of practicing these principles in all our affairs is what we're trying to do today. We're trying to carry the message to others. No matter how this will be used educationally or otherwise, we do have a source of help here ourselves. It will give us a chance that we haven't had for a long time of spreading the fact out that NA is not only a program for addicts, but it's the program that is working for most throughout the world. And we are truly an international body now, and we're spreading rapidly. And I want you all to remember that sort of, because sometimes we forget, we get closed in and we say, well, this is the only place that all this is going on. It isn't. We're more rapidly growing all the time. I'm telling you just as members, just throw this in. So we've put out over 100 starter kits in the last 60 days. You might not want to believe me, but that happens to be true.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's going. So maybe that'll give you a little bit to sort of keep you on the ball as far as this tight thing we're trying to do. So I think it might be a good idea if Doug would run this through maybe about 10 minutes, just a quick 10 minutes to give us an idea of what he's going to do. And then he's going to hang up that sign so it'll fall on my head. I know.
Could I I'm very happy to say today I'm very proud of him, and I've seen a great change. So I just want to thank you all, and what we're going to do today is a dry run.
Are you saying the mother of and you're basically running with the deal that, are you having the same thing? Our outlooks might be something different than what your outlook is as an addict to carry the message.
That's why this lady's here today, and that's why we're here.
I'm just so you will give me that. That's what I want. I'm a writer, okay? And I have produced documentaries before, but I'm here for you to tell me what it, you know. All I know is my concept of what my son was and his friends and what I thought. But I've had that much experience. But I want from you, you're the real, you're the authority. I'm not. I'm only going to write it down on a piece of paper and make a film out of what you said. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Right.
I think basically what we're fighting here is that we don't have a lot of time to do what we have to do here. Fundamentally, this lady here is the designer and we are the design, okay? What we give her is what ends up the final product, okay? She's the professional, we're just here to give her whatever we can. If you could, what we'd like to concentrate the whole thing on, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking right now, what I'd like to concentrate the whole thing on is just focus on the program per se, okay? And how you personally have been affected by this thing called Narcotics Anonymous, okay? And I'd like to reflect it in terms of, this is not a drug program, we all know that, okay? This is really a program that is teaching us how to live and how to cope with all those things out there that formerly we could not. We had to resort to drugs, you know, and I think the whole key to it is like, I don't have to use drugs today because of whatever particular circumstance, okay, wherever you are in your program. I think that is the whole theme to the whole thing, okay? Because they don't understand it out there. We can put this on a phone. They don't understand that Narcotics Anonymous is not about drugs, you know? You understand where I'm coming from? People like call on hotlines, right? They call up and they want to know, you know, how they can just smoke marijuana and not, you know what I mean, do what they're doing. They don't understand what we're trying to do here, you know? And I think that it takes a little while being here to realize that, okay, that this is not a drug program, okay? And I think the key should be total abstinence, okay? There should be some emphasis on that. But I would like to just primarily, though, if we possibly can, wherever we are, just talk about the program, these steps, and how they relate to any circumstance, okay? So it's a natural thing that if you talk about the way it used to be for any brief moment, that you somehow connect the program in there as to not having to be that way anymore, you know? So no matter how negative you may talk, you know, keep in your mind somewhere back there that that it's going to come out that because of the program, you know, this doesn't have to exist anymore, you know. It's pretty hard to stay positive sometimes, okay? But as long as every comment that we make ends with a positive note, I think that that's the important thing, you know. And also to understand that this is our 12th step all over again, you know. That's what we're doing here today to reach so many more people that we normally can't reach, you know. And I don't know how many people have come to this program via somebody heard about it, or somebody's brother, or somebody's sister, or somebody's, you know. It wasn't like we called up and said, hey, narcotics, you know, we didn't know anything about it, so this is what this is, you know. And if we could just look at that, Helen.
Yeah. What are we going to do? Are we going to be asked questions?
No, this is a meeting.
Like a regular AA meeting.
Hopefully it'll just be a very natural thing, okay? This is you know, what's going on here really doesn't matter, you know? I mean, that's really where it is. And you don't have to be guarded. I don't know, profanity, you don't care, this doesn't go anywhere. So just express yourself any way that you would. And I just think as long as the focus is Narcotics Anonymous, whatever you know about it, I think that, you know, like Jimmy was saying, that's...
Say fuck you.
Oh, shit.
I feel like like it.
Fornicators.
That's a good.
Yeah. And any more than that, I don't know, you know. I think Jimmy pretty well tied the whole thing up that, you know, that we're trying to talk about the program wherever you are today, okay? And really, I think that's what we're trying to accomplish, you know. We're not trying to make Narcotics Anonymous something that it is not. I don't think that it's about Narcotics Anonymous right now. It's about us and how we've been affected by that thing called NA. Hello?
All right, one more question. So this is more talking about the 12 steps rather than what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now.
Wherever it takes you, if, you know, however you want to tie that together.
Okay, there's no specific format,
No,
right?
there is not really.
I got
Notice Jimmy wore red.
Hey, Jimmy, that picture back there been accused of you being you back there on that,
You?
no, him.
Oh, it looks like it, doesn't it?
I would back colors.
I think that if we do Who is an Addict, how it works and the traditions,
You forget what is an NA program? Yes.
I think that we,
We can dispense with the traditions at this meeting if you want to, because I will be talking about traditions at a later date.
okay,
That's not what you want to
no.
do. No,
Okay, I'm ready when you
no, I would.
Okay.
Read it if you want to either use it or not.
Well, to save time, you know, they have that part. Okay.
just put that book up. Let me see that book. All right. Excellent. Put your finger out of the way. All right. Excellent. Okay. Go ahead. Got it. It's okay. I got it.
Okay, roll me now.
Yeah.
You got speed?
Okay. Speak.
Okay. Okay, welcome to the regular Narcotics Anonymous meeting at Survivors Club Saturday morning. I'd like to start this meeting with the Serenity Prayer. God,
God,
grant
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Welcome. I'd like to start the meeting as we normally do. Everyone just go around the room so we can get to know each other. My name is Douglas and I'm a drug addict.
Hi, Doug.
I'm Fawn, I'm an addict.
Hi, Fawn.
I'm Sue, I'm an addict.
Hi, Sue.
I'm Jimmy, I'm married.
Hi, Jimmy.
Betty, an addict.
Hi, Betty.
My name's Ken, I'm an addict.
Hi, Ken.
My name's Henry and I'm an addict.
Hi, Henry.
My name's Hank and I'm an addict.
Hi, Hank.
My name is Bob and I'm an addict.
Hi, Bob.
My name is Phil, I'm an addict.
Hi, Phil.
I'm David, I'm an addict.
Hi, David.
Daryl, I'm an addict.
Hi, Daryl.
My name is John, and I'm an addict.
My name is Dana and I'm an addict.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, Dana.
All right. Very nice day today. Okay, as is a custom at our meetings in Southern California, we read excerpts from the pamphlet of Narcotics Anonymous. Can I get a volunteer this morning to read Who is an Addict? All right.
My name's Fawn, I'm an addict.
Hi, Fawn.
Who is an addict? Most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life and thinking is centered in drugs in one form or another, begetting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We use to live and live to use. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jail, institutions, and death.
Thank you. Okay, as also is a custom, can I get a volunteer to read How It Works?
My name's Ken, I'm an addict. How it works. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are suggested only, but they are the principles that made our recovery possible. 1. We admitted that we were powerless over the addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all those defects of character. 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends with them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of those steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This sounds like a big order, and we can't do it all at once. We didn't become addicts in one day, so remember, easy does it. There is one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. This is an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. Although there are no musts in NA, there are 3 things that seem indispensable. These are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. With these we are well on our way. We feel that our approach to the problem of addiction is completely realistic for the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. We feel that our ways is practical. One addict can best understand and help another addict. We believe that the sooner we face our problems within our society in everyday living, just that much faster do we become acceptable, responsible, and productive members of that society. The only way to keep from getting or continuing a habit is not to take that first fix, pill, or drink. If you are like us, you know that one is too many and 1,000 never enough. We put great emphasis on this, for we know that when we use drugs in any form or substitute one for another, we realize our addictions all over again or create a new one. The substitution of alcohol has caused a great many addicts to form a new addiction pattern, which in its progression brings as many problems as before. We seem to forget that alcohol is one of the oldest known drugs. It would appear that we are people with addictive personalities who are strongly susceptible to alcoholic addictions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Loosen up, huh? Hey. Come on. Come on.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, get loose. Okay, I would like to have I'll tell you what, I'm not going to have somebody volunteer. Bob, would you please read the 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous? Thank you.
My name is Bob and I'm an addict.
Hi, Bob.
We keep what we have only with vigilance. And just as freedom for the individual comes in 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2, for our group purpose there is but one ultimate authority. A loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffering. 6, an NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise. Lest problems with money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, NA has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
All right.
That's the biggest of the biggest. All right. Okay. Now we got the reading out of the way. All right. I'd like to start this meeting off with the suggestion that this be a discussion meeting today, centered around the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous and how they work for you and how they work in your life, and that 12 step, how we can better offer this to other people. You know, I think the most beautiful part of this program is that little phrase in our pamphlet, you know, that doesn't very often get read in meetings because it's not part of the reading material, that says, in desperation we sought help from each other. You know, it's like when it gets down to it, you know, whatever you believe in, whatever your concepts, whatever you come here with, it all seems to boil down to that simple statement. You know, in desperation we sought help from each other, and the most beautiful part about it is that it's here. You know, we have it to give today, and I don't know. I'd sort of like to just run this on a volunteer basis. If you like to share this afternoon, if you have something possibly of this last week, some experience with the step. If you could possibly share that with us today. You know, many of us have been here a lot longer than others, and a lot of the living experiences that we go through and apply this program in our lives, yet unknown to those other people, we can share that today. You know, would anybody like to volunteer to share a little bit with us today?
I'll start it off. There was a couple of things that going through my mind, you know. It just looked like, in a way, I'm out of place, you know, in terms of, fellas, people look too good, you know. You got clean faces and shiny shoes and cars parked on the parking lot and everything. Barbara, I think one of the things I think I have difficulty with, you know, I have to always go back to the first step and understand what addiction is about. And I have to, you know, the totality of what addiction is all about. And it took a long time for me to come to grips with the total personality of me being addicted. It has very little to do with whatever chemicals I may have used in order to arrive here in desperation, that desperation you're talking about. It took a long time for me to understand what addiction was about, really. You know, I read the steps 1,000 times, but I never really knew the true impact of what my addiction was about, you know. It's constantly creeping up, you know, when things of of a nature of, I get that gratification or that feeling good or it looks good and I want to run with it. You know, I'm still into that. You know, and I catch myself, well, here I go again. You know, running crazy because something made me feel good or, you know, I looked good and it's worthwhile running it to the ground until I start getting, you know, I actually get sick about it. You know, not, you know, it's kind of, I relate it to the, you know, the addiction to the drug, but it's hard to understand because sometimes, you know, to really get to that point of how far-reaching it is. You know, I've seen it with the money thing, I've seen it with the sex thing, I've seen it with, you know, the drug thing, I've seen it with just, if it looks good, feel good, let's go. You know, man, run with it. And in some ways, it came up, you're talking about cropping up last week, you know, I've gotten to the place where I've develop a little affluence. There's no other way to say it, you know. But I think about at the same time, I become very tight-fisted. I still very selfish. I become a lot of the negative things that go along with it. It's not that it's not what people are doing out there. It's just how it affects me in terms of how off-center or how crazy I can get. How, you know, all-encompassing this here, my disease of addiction is. I fully understand it in a sense of saying I can see it unfolding. Sometimes I don't see it happening because it's very subtle. You just say, well, this is nice. You know, I enjoy this. And I just want a little, you know, a little taste of good things of life. And so I'll get off into it. You know? And sometimes I have to just remind me continually that that first step, you know, my life is still unmanageable in many ways, that my addiction is all encompassing. It has very little to do with whatever chemical I use. That I get overly involved, overly obsessive about it, wanting to, you know, just go, you know, like, do it, baby, you know, until I get the pain. You know, I see some of the things that are happening around me that are painful where it affects other people. And very often it becomes painful for me seeing them suffer or seeing how I affect them. How I affect them. Not their reaction to it, but just how I affect them. And it's, it kind of reminds me once again, you know, like I still got a lot of work to do. Regardless of how long I've been around here, these little subtleties that kind of seemingly creep in with everything just sailing along, you know, just beautiful, and then all of a sudden, that's what's happening. So, I think, you know, one of the things we come in here with, I think we talk about many things, but I think when we get to understand the true nature, or when I get to understand my true nature of my disease, how all-encompassing it is. It's the whole me. You know, my very being is just addictive. You know, I was talking to a young lady earlier, you know, like, it gets good, you know, and we just, hey, we're doing it for good things, you know. We just overshoot the goal somewhere. And that's what I usually do. I overshoot the goal somewhere. You know, I'm so busy trying to make money out there that I just sold me a place out from under me. You know, I sold the house and everything. I sold it, you know, don't need a place to go. Before I had a place to go. Is that beautiful? Right? And I'm running around like a rat in a sewer, right? Trying to get that part of living back together. I said, what I told myself, deluded myself, I'm going to simplify my living. Right? I'm going to get rid of, I'm not going to be the landlord no more. I'm just going to do this and I'm going to do that. And so I just wheeling, dealing, selling stuff. Rather than having preparations of saying comfortable living or having a place. And I know, you know, I know that I'm not going to be out in the cold, but it's uncomfortable where I am. Everything is packed in boxes and in things and packed away and in store, you know. And I don't like that. It's very simple. Although I intended for it to be. You know, my best laid plans. Now, I didn't ask any of you, what should I do? One person did give me a suggestion. He said, if he called you that much headache, get rid of it. So I got rid of it. I followed suggestions. I was supposed to have some follow-up suggestions to go along with it, but I didn't consult with nobody. You know, somebody else asked me just today, you know, when I was up there telling them about, you mean, didn't you have another plate? No, I didn't. You know. When you're in the mess, it just don't seem to work out the same way. It's when I can stand back from it, or let you know what is happening, that I can see it better. And I think that's part of the value of, you know, we can see each other as we don't see ourselves. And it becomes very helpful in that respect, that I can always get a view of my addiction, and I have to get back to that first step, that my life is still unmanageable. It is getting better, but it's still unmanageable, and that I can predispose in some respect to this here sickness inside of addiction. That's all I have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, how we are so drawn to impulse that we would call inspiration, you know. we had, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Anyway, forgot my train of thought. But we forget the final through, you know. It's like I applied for a loan for a car. Sure, I'm going to get the loan. It's going to be positive. We sold the other car. Now we didn't get the loan, and we don't have the other car. So it's like you know, you can't ride on money. You know, it's like being a millionaire and being broke. You know, you know that's where it is. And it's like I don't know. That to me is the illness. You know, it's like I hate to look at the illness like it's a second part. You know, it's like something outside of me. You know, like my enemy or something like that. You know, it's like I get so self-centered and so self-obsessed that I forget it's something within me. You know, it's some ingredient. I don't know whether it's natural, chemical, or what it is. What this thing called addiction is. You know, I really wish somebody had a definition. You know, that you could say, yeah. You know, I know that it is obsession coupled with impulse, and I know that freedom from that is recovery. You know, and it's like if I had to say anything about this program, you know, it's like Jimmy often says, you know, it's easier to find out what something is not rather than try to define what it is, you know. And it's like, I really know that this program, in very simple terms, is not a drug program. It's not any of those things that I have known before coming here. I think that this program is a program that at times helps me derive freedom from myself. You know, when I can get free of me long enough, I plan for some reason. When I can get free of me long enough, I see things the way they really are, and I follow through with things, you know. And God, I was just saying the other day, I'm clean, I'm sober, and that's great. But it's like, what am I going to do about that thinking? You know, I think that's what you were saying, Bob. It's like, how do you get free of that thinking? You know, I think that's really what we're talking about. They told me when I first got here that I had to give up my old ideas, give up my old thinking. And I still find after 7.5 years, much of that is still creeping into my life, seeping in, you know. It's like, I don't know if it actually ever goes away. You know, I guess I just have to have faith that it'll be arrested, you know. And God, I don't know. Is there anybody else who would like to share this morning? Hello.
Yeah, my name is Jimmy. I'm a recovered addict. Jimmy. Along the lines that Doug was talking about, you mentioned that sometimes we can find out more clearly what something is by seeing what it is not. One of our packets talks about that in particular. And it lists 4 things that addiction is not. And very simply, I'll just run the top part out. And anybody who has not read this pamphlet could get one right off the table there. These are free for anybody that wants them. Number one, addiction is not freedom. I think we know that pretty well. Number two, addiction is not personal growth. If it's anything, it retards it. And addiction certainly is not goodwill. I came here, I had nothing left, especially as far as goodwill was concerned. I hated everybody, everything, myself more than anything else, I do believe. And above all, addiction is not a way of life. Now, maybe some social users might find it a way of life or a lifestyle that they like, but when it comes to addiction, it certainly is not a way of life, but rather it's a way of death. And it's a way of negation, if I can use that term. So some of the things that we have to do, I believe, at nearly all of our meetings, we touch on it in different ways. And that is, what is our terminology? What do we think addiction is from our experience? Because this seems to be the basis for everything we do. What is our experience? As a body, what is my experience as an individual that I can offer that might help somebody else? And these are the things that then finally we say addiction, as we understand it, is a compulsion and an obsession. The impulse that Doug spoke about is only one small part of the addict personality. The addict personality is well known. It's been known to psychologists for years. But we have to study it for ourselves so that we know from the inside what we are. And above that, it's an emotional as well as a spiritual problem. It seems that when we hit bottom and are willing to do something about the problem we face, we've hit a spiritual low. I define that for myself. When I reach that point where I would look in the mirror in the morning and I spit at myself because I was not acceptable to me. I could no longer face myself. I cussed myself. I want nothing to do with me, and I couldn't get away from this character who was the addict. And I think these are some of the things that we find out that our terminology suits us best. The compulsion means very simply to us that after having started to use an addictive drug, that I cannot stop. I have to let it run its course. It has to run its cycle. And in the addict, that cycle is a continuous cycle. And it continually gets worse. When we stop and are able to stop when we come to Narcotics Anonymous, no matter what method is used to get us there, we find out that that's about half of the illness. It's gone right there. I don't need anything until I take something. I may want something, but I don't need it. And that need, that urgency, that I can't do without it is gone. And the obsession then is removed by working our steps. Because this brings us to grips with the problem, with powers that we have to find to help ourselves, with ourself, our inner self, to straighten out our life, see what we have to work with, and then our steps as they go along into 7, 8, and 9, take us into relationships with other people on the program, outside the program, our family, our friends, so that we can live a life of freedom, so that we can feel not so much for me comfort as ease. I was never at ease all my life. I was never at ease no matter where I went. In my own family, I was not at ease. I was not at ease with my mother, my brothers, my sisters. I was never at ease as I am today. And I think this is it. Then we find out that when we get into the working part of our steps, that these are the daily things that we face that brings us to what Doug was talking about. How did you do this week? What happened this week that maybe you had to think about more than once and get yourself back in the right direction? Now, I shoot angles. I know that about myself, so I have to be careful. I'm always looking for an easy way. I'm always looking for a few other things that might come my way that I would like to have without paying any prices, you know? And I think this is what all part of addiction. And some of the things that make up addiction, we mentioned the one, impulsiveness, you know? We have that other thing that's known as, we have a certain word for it. If I could just grasp it right now, I've lost it. But inadequate, they call it, inadequate. I never felt that I really was competent to do anything as much as you were competent to do the same job. You know? I hated competition with individuals because I always felt that I was less than. I would lose, see? But here's this, and then we have that spiritual sensitivity. It's not only as a spiritual sensitivity that we use on the program after we're clean for a while, but we use it a different way. The old way was, you hurt my feelings, therefore I'm going to use, or therefore I'm going to get even with you. And we didn't realize, we always talk about, well, I have no patience. I had any patience. Patience was a virtue I didn't have. Well, I want to tell you, I was a patient man, even in my addiction. If I was going to get even with you, I'd wait 10 years. I did that. I almost killed a man because of it, you know. If somebody hadn't pulled me off, I'd have been doing time for it, you know. This is it. So, yeah, but above all, I think, was that little voice inside me that we all talk about. I call him that little dictator bastard, you know, inside of me that says to me things like, even now you say to me, oh, go ahead. They don't know what the hell they're talking about, you know. Do it your way. Go ahead, try it, you know. You never tried that drug before. Why don't you take a crack at it? Maybe now you can handle it. These things never attack us the same way twice. They always come from a different angle. And I found out that I used to set things up. I'd say, well, I will do this if that happens. And again, I'm going into that old intellectual bullshit that I've always used. I solve everything mentally and then rest back and say, oh, isn't that nice? It's all solved now. You know, I put no action into it. And I think above all we find in this program that action really is the magic part of this program for ourselves. What we believe and what we practice, we do it every day to some degree. We come to a meeting. Actually, we come to a meeting like this. As I pointed out to somebody the other night, we perform part of all the 12 steps by coming to a meeting. You know? I reveal myself a little bit to you. You reveal yourself a little bit to me. Sometimes I come to a meeting, I'm down. You can inspire me to try, to grow a little bit, a little more each day. And I think this is what we do mostly for each other. It comes back down to the basic thing. We banded together because nothing else seemed to be helping us. We got together with each other because we can do what I can't do. And that's it. We can do what I can't do alone. And that's about all I have to say.
If you have some of you say how many years you've spent in AA, it would be nice if I would know that and have that information in writing. Somewhere, let me know in your drug-a-log, as I call it, how many years.
Oh, sure. My name is Dana, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Dana.
And this is my birthday week. I have 4 years of total abstinence and Narcotics Anonymous this week.
Right.
I can really feel good about that, and I can feel grateful a lot of the times that, I'm clean and sober, I'm not in jail anymore, that I'm doing good things for myself, and I'm helping myself. And they say it's not a drug program. It's not a drug program, it's a self-help program. I'm here to help myself. And, when I came around a little over 4 years ago, I had no hope. All I had was a lot of despair that things were going to continue the way they've been continuing, in and out of institutions, out of jail, being on methadone maintenance, getting injured as a result of some of the things that I did when I was using drugs. Today I don't have those problems. Today I don't have those problems. I have living problems that I have to contend with. How to advance myself on my job, how to become a better human being, to be more helpful, and to get rid of the self-centered ideas that I've had for a long, long time. And it's like today my disease comes out in other ways. We're talking about addiction. We're not talking about my drug problem. I don't have a drug problem today, but I still have a disease called addiction running rampant in me a lot of the time. And this disease is like a self-seeking type thing. I try to gratify myself in other ways. Maybe it's through sex, or maybe it's through money, power, prestige. It's been coming out a lot in me lately in gambling. And I can feel the same feelings that I used to feel when I was using drugs. The same kind of feelings, the obsession to want to play again and again, because this time it's going to be different. This time I'm going to win. it used to be, this time I'm gonna feel like I did that first time. It used to be like that when I was using drugs. I wanted to get that good feeling that made everything just feel all right. Through this program, I have created a lot of good feelings within myself without taking anything, you know. The good feelings that I produce for myself are for doing productive things for myself, things that make me feel worthwhile, by helping another person, by giving of myself, by advancing in my career that I've chosen today, by being self-supporting. And all those things, you know, make me feel good. But I have to get back to the basics a lot of time. I have to get back to where I came from and how much of how strong this disease that I have in me is, and how it can run rampant at any time, even while I'm in this program. You know, I don't use drugs today, and I haven't for 4 years, but I still feel that addiction and that disease in me a lot. You know, and that's when I have to get back to remember that I'm powerless over my addiction, whatever they might be, and my life is unmanageable. Even today, you know, right now, my life is unmanageable today. You know, but you know, I know that drinking and using drugs is no alternative to anything. You know, I've already went through that trip for a number of years, and I know it doesn't solve any problems. But I know what does solve problems for me, and that's the steps of this program. And my favorite, I think everybody has a favorite step, and I think a lot of you will agree with me that step number 3 gives me a lot of freedom, where we make a decision to turn our life and our will over to the care of God as we understand Him. You know? And it seems like all this big load that I carried with me sometimes with all these little living problems that I encounter, that if I just turn it back over to the care of God as I understand Him, to a power greater than myself, that a big load is taken off my shoulders, and I can generally just flow along with what's happening, and it makes everything okay. This program has given me a lot of freedom, you know, more freedom than I could ever imagine. But I myself, give myself a lot of, put myself in a lot of chains. I really tie myself down. You know, it's like I have to get back to the basics and do what I know I have to do in this program. That's why I need to go to meetings every night. That's why I need to share with people. That's why I need to be here at this meeting today. You know, what I've heard already made me feel better. You know, and when I compare how I've been acting in my sober life with my gambling and my self-seeking, compared to how it used to be when I was using, it's the same. You know, it's the same trips. You know, and yeah, I'm celebrating 4 years of clean and sober living this week, and I can feel good about that. You know, I can feel good that I'm sitting here talking to you all, that I'm not in probation, that I'm not on parole anymore. But yeah, you know, I've got to work on myself. Even in this program, I've got to take some positive action to make me feel good on the match, like I've been doing all along. And you know, thank you for sharing my birthday with me this week. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can get over that first one, you know, it's like, yeah, I worked the 12 steps. Yeah, I stayed sober, and then I promptly forgot it.
Right.
You know, it's like I get back out in here in this life. You know, I leave these meetings, I leave these people. I start getting involved again, seeing what is going on other than my own recovery, and I get a certain amount of confusion, and I think that that's what it is. But really, for a drug addict, the steps are what is. As long as I am applying those in my life, that's what is, see? And I will maintain my sanity, see? Like I said, if I can just get over that first step, you know, it's like I go out here and I have what I would call a run today, you know. It's like I see a painting that I must have. It is more money than I have. So can I borrow the money? Can I find the money? Can I cut here? Can I cut there? And I go through this whole trip to acquire things, you know. Forgetting about the program, see? That if I would but just work my program, everything will be all right. I'll probably get the painting anyway, you know. But what happens is it's like I lose touch. I get off base, you know. So like I said, if I can get just past that first step, you know, get back to basics. It's like that second step is like something. That's the gift of the program, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, how do you work? We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. That is one of the steps that there's no predictability on that, you know. I think you can sit around this program for 5 years and not come to believe that a power greater than you can restore you to sanity, you know. That's like something that is the gift. It's like you're sitting in a meeting one day, or you're sitting on your job, or you are somewhere, and suddenly there is some calm that in those deeper recesses, you know, that addiction used to fill, you know, somewhere in there is just a calm, you know, and it's real. And suddenly you actually hear music when you're sitting in restaurants, or you actually smell the air when it's good. You know, like I don't want to get like, you know, we hear birds singing and all that, you know, but really that is where it is. You know, that's the whole trip, you know. And I don't know, that's my favorite step. Fawn, did you want to share?
Yeah, my name is Fawn, I'm an addict. I think the biggest relief for me when I came to this program was that I didn't have to do this thing alone. I remember when I came into the program, all I knew how to do was use drugs real good. And my life was centered around using drugs, and I spent practically every waking moment on how I was going to get loaded or being loaded, etc. And it was just a big relief knowing that I didn't have to do this whole thing alone. I couldn't believe that if I just hung tight, that I would, you know, I couldn't believe in the beginning how I could wake up and not think about drugs, you know, like I knew that I might be able to stay clean, but you know, I heard you people saying that you could wake up and go through a whole day and not even think about drugs, and that part is what I wanted. I wanted that freedom from drug addiction, that whole thought process that takes me time and time again back to using drugs. They kept telling me to just keep coming back, keep coming to the meetings, get to know people, get to you know, let people know who I was. And they gave me this little pamphlet, and they told me to read it and to keep reading it. And then that was when I started learning about the steps. And it was when I started to try and apply the steps and, well, discovered the steps that I realized that there's a way for me to stay clean. To me, this program isn't about just stop using drugs. It's about how to stay clean and how to be comfortable with myself. And that's what I've gotten today. I've got about 1.5 years clean and sober now, and most of the time I'm happy. Not all the time, but most of the time. And I think that the biggest, the rewards of this program is the friends that I have, the people that really care. When I first came here and I heard people say, well, if you want to use at 3 o'clock in the morning, just call us. I didn't believe it, you know. I didn't believe that, oh, people really aren't going to take a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning, until one time I had to. And you know what, man? The person didn't complain on the other end of the phone. They understood where I was at, and they were willing to help me. And I never got support like that out on the streets, you know. I'm very grateful today for the people that are in my life that are willing to help me through moments when I don't think I'm going to get through them. After coming around, and you know, I didn't come into this program and right away believe in a higher power. I didn't understand higher power, so in the beginning, you know, it's like you know, I look at step 1 and I think how I finally got step 1 for myself as far as drugs were. That it wasn't so much about a battle, you know. I kept looking at it like I've got to stop using drugs. I think what happened is like I surrendered, you know. It's like I'm an addict, you know. As long as I keep fighting drug addiction, I'm going to lose because I'm an addict. And so what I did is I surrendered. I just said, hey, I'm an addict and I'm totally powerless over drugs. So knowing that, I just don't take them, you know. And then I had to come to believe in a power greater than myself. In the beginning, it was you people, you know, you people that had some time clean and sober, you people that had 30 days, a year, 2 years, 30 years, you know. I looked at you people as a power greater than myself, because you were doing something that I could never do. And through through coming to meetings and sharing with other people in this program, I've come to find a higher power of my own. And I don't know, I've gotten a little taste of what the spirituality of this program is. I don't have to do anything alone today in my life. Through working the steps, I don't have to, I'm not using drugs now, right? But like what other people have been talking about, like they come across like times, periods, whether it be uncomfortable or going through changes or something, and I don't have to stay there anymore. I can apply the steps of this program to those things too. Through writing inventory, which is the fourth step, I discovered a little bit about who I am, what makes me uncomfortable, Now that I know what makes me uncomfortable, I might not dive into something anymore that continually makes me uncomfortable. I think that the biggest joy in this program for me today is sharing with someone brand new, and seeing them get this program or coming to an understanding and watching them come to their own understanding. And that is, like whenever I'm in one of my bags, whatever it is, if I'm down, I'm up, or whatever, when I'm just sharing with another addict, sharing with them, which was what was so freely given and shared with me, I see something, and I manage to get free from myself just a little bit to see somebody else hopefully get the message of recovery. I don't know, I'm very grateful to the Narcotics Anonymous. I went through some changes this past week too, I really identified with what Bob was saying, I went ahead and sold my car, thinking, that's the thing to do, right? And now I don't have a car. So, just like with jobs, I've quit jobs and before getting another one, it's like today, I don't wake up with a driving obsession to use drugs, but I know that I'm a drug addict. A couple of weeks ago, I went to a fancy French restaurant with some friends on the program, and I had to go to the ladies' room, and it was located in the back of the restaurant. And when I was in there, the first thing that came to my mind, and mind you, I was in a real good place. The first thing that came to my mind was, wow, this is a great bathroom to get loaded in. It's locked, it's got good running water, good lights. That was my thinking, and I didn't, it just popped up. I heard someone say it a couple of weeks ago, and they were taking the vitamins out of their vitamin bottles, the cotton. I do that too, wow, handy cotton, maybe I should save this. Just weird thoughts like that. I know I'm a drug addict. I still sometimes, like when it rains, I'm sure normal people don't think about using, I do, and sometimes too much rain really gets me back to those days when it was really hopeless and I was just, so down and out. And, I'm glad that I found a place where I can share with other people and learn how to live a day at a time. And I have hope today in my life. I have some faith today that things will get better. I know that I wasn't put on this earth to always be miserable. When I am miserable, it's usually because I choose to be. But I don't always stay there. Most of the time, this program is like a journey, and it's about growing up for me. I'm learning how to grow up, and it's not all that painful. Sometimes it is, but with the support and help of other people on this program, I'm doing it. And thanks for letting me share.
I'm Daryl, I'm an addict.
Hi, Daryl. Hi, Daryl.
I had a birthday this week too, 5 years.
Hey.
And that to me it's just incredible. My mind is blown over that. Of all the steps, my favorite step I think is 11. And the reason is, I think, because I've had such a privilege, like looking for God in the program. I didn't just accept the fact that, the people who were high power. I kept thinking that I had to find, out what God is, right? So all through my program, in the beginning, I looked at the deep down. I came into the Bible Belt, and everybody's going to church. So it ended up, the first year of my program, I went to a Holy Roller church. I was baptized in Dunkin' water, and I would read the Bible, and I would, and then I would give up on that church, and I would go to another church because somebody else would, say that they had the answer. I kept thinking that the people could tell me who God was, that like they knew, right? And what I found out over the past few years is that I can't find God, as I understand it, and I don't care to, and there's no point in it. And the less I try to define Him, the better it works for me, as far as trying to get into conscious contact, whatever that is. And that's where the 11th step, I like that, because it says praying only for knowledge of His will and the power to carry it out. Because in those times when I was trying to define God and look for God in the church or wherever, I was always praying for things, like one time I prayed to get out of debt, and and all my prayers were answered, whatever. One time I prayed to get out of debt, and about a couple weeks later, I got in a car accident, and my ankle got broken, my head got smashed in, and then a few months later, I got several $1,000s, and I got out of debt. I mean, my prayers were answered. But I know that it's a lot safer, and besides being a lot safer, it's self-will to pray for stuff like that, as far as I'm concerned in my life. So I don't pray for things anymore. I just pray for knowledge of God's will and the power to carry it out, whatever that is. And I hardly even define that, just try to put one foot in front of the other. That's all.
My name's Ken, I'm an addict.
Hi, Ken.
And I'm fairly new. I've got 4 months coming up this week.
Good to hear.
And for me, that's something, because my life was totally unmanageable before whenever I had a problem or frustration or had to deal or face something that I didn't want to, I'd let my anger overtake me. I'd say things, do crazy things, run, quit, give up, and got to a point where I got tired of copping out and just trying to bury my thoughts into the drugs that I was into. And one day I reached out and started looking for help because my life was totally unmanageable. I couldn't deal with it. I tried to give it up alone. I did all right for a while, but then I ended up facing the same problems, the same feelings, and ending up going into the same old hang-ups and going back to my using, because that's the way I knew how. And I got involved with this program through a TV program that I had seen, and I reached out and used the number that I saw, and it took me a while to make that phone call. Admitting to yourself that you really have a problem is part of the program that I've learned to be honest, to not bullshit yourself and make excuses like I had to when I was using. I was great at making excuses. I've always been a manipulator to my likings, to the best of my ability, and a quitter and a runner. And since I began the program, I've come to more peace of mind and relaxation. Even though I've only got 4 months, I've been in and out of touch with the program before, but was always there because I had to be there.
Don't ever say only.
Oh, okay. I had to be there because somebody... Okay. I lost it. That's all right. That's it. Through the program, I've learned that when I lose my train of thought or something, that there's a reason. It's okay. It's a miracle that I keep myself clean and sober. There's one thing that I've learned. I have the decision to do with my life as I want to. And because of the complications, and I think I'm actually in the long run hurting only myself. And when I reached out for the program, I was tired of running. I was running and running and running. And that's like the first step. I admitted to myself that I am powerless over the addiction, and that our lives, speaking for my life, had become unmanageable to myself. That my ways, my answers weren't always right. But yet I thought that I knew all the answers. And admitting that I didn't, and opened my mind to suggestive learning abilities of other ways than the ways that I had been controlling my life. It has helped me become a better person and understanding myself and becoming more understanding with someone says, okay, you can't do it this way, that's the way it's got to be. Well, I might not agree with that person, and before I might have expressed it and said a lot of unnecessary things and through a lot of anger. And through the anger, in the long run, I only hurt myself through that. Now, today, through the program, I've learned that to accept it. Okay, it might not be right, but I'm finding out there are reasons behind everyone's thinking of why it's got to be a certain way. They've got a particular reason. To them, it's good. To me, it might not be, but that's all right. I'm not running the show. They're running the show. With my jobs, I used to go through 6 jobs a year, if not more. I couldn't hold down a job for anything because I couldn't deal with society. I didn't know how to deal with people. I didn't know how to deal with problems. And today, I'm learning more on how to do this, so my life's more manageable. And I've lost my own self-respect, my self-pride, my own self-identity after a point when I finally broke down, when I said I'm tired of running, to help myself. I want the help. I'm the one that's making the decisions. I'm calling the shots. And now I'm doing it for somebody other than somebody telling me, you gotta go here, you gotta do this. Because I always rebelled against when people put me in situations, even though they thought it was better for me, and possibly at that time it was better for me. But I didn't think it was better for me. So what did I do? The natural. I did everything in my power to fight the system, to get away from it. And now I'm accepting it within myself, and I'm a lot happier. And I'm beginning to get in touch with my own self-pride, my own self-identity a little bit more, and understanding of what the program and the steps have to offer. I can say that I'm turning it over to the higher power as I understand them, which the program has taught me also. And not always do I feel relief, but if I can't deal with it, instead of getting myself hung up and frustrated and saying, well, the only way out is for me to do what I have to do with my drugs and get all loaded, I turn it over to the higher power. Sometimes I get an answer and relief the next day when I wake up. But more important, I find answers through the other people in the program, through their experiences. Not everybody can I identify within the program. Some people have other problems worse than what mine are, and some not as bad as what mine were. But yet, they're all here, and I feel comfortable here because everybody that's here that shares with me is helping me understand my life and helping me be a stronger and better person. And is here for the same reason. We're all here to help ourselves in our lives to become better people with ourselves so we can have that peace of mind and comfort. And for the newcomers, they keep saying, keep coming back, because it really works. I'm finding through the steps that it really does work, that this program is and has a better way of helping me live my life now than when I was out on the streets and willing and dealing and using. And I'm grateful for the program, and thank you for letting me share.
One day I'm an addict.
Hi, Betty.
It's hard for me to talk even yet, but I was sitting here, I was thinking about this gal I talked to on the phone, and you know, in communicating with this girl, you know, it was like she was just getting to know the program, and she was asking questions, and I thought, my God, you know, the place she's in right now, you know, she has like 5 kids, she's on welfare, she's physically really down, and she's really having a rough time, but she's willing to do the footwork, and it was like I said to her, just get to a meeting, and you get your body there, your mind will follow, and, you know, it was good for me to talk to her because it was also reminding myself the same thing. You know, and I don't know, I was thinking also about when I first came to the program, you know, and I didn't, you know, I was at the point where I had been working and working for so many years, and I thought in hiding in my work, I wouldn't have to see what was going on. I wouldn't have to face everything, you know. And I tried so many different ways of hiding, you know. And I wound up just down on the couch. I couldn't move. And I had a granddaughter, and a brand new granddaughter. And I think this is what really hit me the hardest and made me really realize that, hey, I can't even hold my granddaughter in my arms. What is wrong? You know? And really wanting to change. And I think that, you know, like my contact with another girl, and then more girls, and calling on the phone, and finding out that there's things that I was able to do to help myself. I think if someone had told me you've got to do something, it would have blown me away completely. Maybe someone did, and you know, I just cut it off. But mainly people said, Betty, you can be anything, you can do anything you want. And so I started, experimenting, and I watched people on the program and their faces, the laughter. And like Doug said, you know, couldn't hear the birds. Well, I thought I could hear the birds, you know, they were singing, and I thought, gee, that's strange. I haven't heard those in a long time. You know, and different things, even to this day, like the squirrel came out today. And this is something like about the 4th day in a row that the squirrel is starting to come back. And I'm starting to make friends with this little squirrel. And, you know, it really, little things hit me very deeply, and they make me feel so good, where I had just kind of shoved them away before. And as the years went on, I was getting so I wasn't seeing and doing a lot of things. Since I've come to this program, I've graduated from high school. I had to become a grandmother and then graduate ahead of my kids. And you know, and I really love that, because it's an accomplishment for me. I'm getting so that I'm sewing more, and I enjoy that. You know, it's something that I can see that I have been able to do. It's like I'm getting more and more done the longer, the more I'm on this program. One way that that helps me is I use the steps, and the steps, you know, whatever is happening for a day, I put into
the steps of what can help me. And number one is out front, no more funny little tranquilizers, no more of using all these little hideaways. It's learning to get out into society and living. This is something the program is doing, to learn to live in society. And my God, that's something beautiful for me. Today, before we came to the meeting, we went to a dollar sale. God, I'm so addicted to those damn sales. And it was like, now, I tried to hold myself down as much as I could, but there were little different things, and by the time I got home, I looked at them, and I thought, geez, I really saved a lot of money, and I have put myself down so many times and thinking I'm buying all these extra goodies that I don't even use. Oh, no, wait, that's a cop-out. When I think of that house, I don't know. I opened my mouth the other day and I said, sure, you can bring those 2 trucks, 2 cars over and store them at the house. And my God, they're so enormous, they're going to fill up the backyard. So I think if we keep going like we're going, we're going to have to buy the house next door. But I don't know. So many things I've put myself down for through the years. It's like I'm remembering now, and I'm looking back, and a lot of them, it was like I could see them more in proportion. There were things in my past that I don't like to look at, but it's a part of, and it's me, and I don't know. The program's helping me to accept each day, different things that come into my life, or going to the grocery store or whatever, and working through that. I even enjoy going to Christmas sales now. It's a madhouse. I love it. And before I was so frightened. I was afraid to be around people. I'm starting to stutter. I think Sue should go next.
My name's Sue, I'm an addict.
Right.
The last week, well, this last week's been really good for me. One thing the program has definitely taught me, and that's some of the awarenesses that have come about. The fact that I can stop and look at things and realize why certain other things are happening. Let me explain what I'm saying. The beginning of the week, at the middle of the week, I spent a day with a girl, about 2 hours and 45 minutes. She's on the program, and that's all we talked about. It's just the program. We talked about everything imaginable. Everything that's been talked about here, we talked about, your fears in every area of your life, insanity, addiction, how you cope with it, how you get through it, what areas you're still insane in, because that's where I find myself. I'm still insane in areas of my life. I'm not addicted to drugs anymore, but I have an addicted personality, and I'm addicted to a lot of other things in life now. Maybe not as unhealthy, but maybe not so healthy either. You really have to look at it. And then that evening I spent another couple hours with another girl on the program, and that's all we talked about. That is all we talked about. I had one full day of program. I was so tired at the end of the day that it felt good to be tired for once. I didn't mind it. But I realized why I've been spending that much time with people on the program. And something's coming up in my life, and I try to put it out of my mind, but it pops up once a year, and it's something that I have to learn how to deal with, and that's the death of my mother. It'll be 3 years next week, and maybe to some of you that seems really silly, or gee, that's such a long time, you're not over it yet, but you have to remember that my mom was my higher power for many, many years, probably for 26 years of my life. She controlled it. I went to her for everything. She was everything to me. And it's like, that was hard for me to cut that loose, you know, when she had passed away. That it's like, now I felt, okay, now what do I do? You know, now that you're gone, what do I turn to? And I always thought I had a belief and a faith in a power greater than myself. But it's like, when that had happened, I realized that I did not have any faith. You know, I did not believe in a power greater than myself. And for the last 3 years, I've had to learn how to believe in something greater than myself and to believe in the steps. And usually about this time of the year, I'll start working on the steps, usually 1 through 6 or 7. And then that's like my inventory time. You know, this is my inventory time. To stop and reflect on what's been going on in my life, whether it be past before I got to the program, or now since I've come to the program. And the steps have helped me work through this relationship that I had with my mother, you know, as being my higher power. I no longer feel that way. I feel that I have a faith in a power greater than myself. It's real hard for me to express things sometimes. You think after all the amount of time, after 4.5 years, I'd know how to say something. But it's real hard for me because I've just recently gotten in touch with a lot of my emotions too, a lot of my feelings, and what's going on with me, and who Susan really is, you know, and that I'm okay today. You know, it's like I didn't, for a long time, didn't feel that I was worthwhile. And like Bob said at the beginning of the meeting, he felt out of place. I felt that way all the time. I felt that way for years. I still feel that way. I feel that way a lot. You know, that sometimes, you know, what am I doing here? And that's my disease telling me that you don't belong here. You know, we were talking about that too, how the disease comes out, and that voice that Jimmy was talking about. Yeah, I got a couple of them though. I got more than one. I have a few, and they come at me differently at different times. And just to ignore them and to continue with what I'm doing in a positive manner, you know, working the steps, doing 12-step work, working with others, you know, showing my ass, so to speak, you know, letting you know that right now I don't know who I am. One more time in my life, I don't know who I am. I don't know who Susan is. I'm trying to get in touch with me again. It seems like for a year I do okay, and then I hit a certain spot, and it's like I have to start, you know, it's like I lose myself. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but it's like I start reevaluating, you know, who Susan is again. And yes, you're still okay, and look what you've done. You know, you've stayed clean all this time. And sometimes I have to stop and think, wow, that's a long time for me. You know, because when I was using, I didn't stop and think about how clean I was. I stopped and thought about how loaded I could get, you know, and how out of it I could feel. You know, not about the good things that I could do in my life today. And I didn't really realize I was killing myself either, you know, until I got to the program. I've learned so much, yet I know so little. And my philosophy to that is that everything I knew out there is no longer valid, okay? When I got to this program, I started learning all new things over again. So it's not like I don't know anything. I just am relearning everything all over again. I don't know if that makes sense or not, I don't know. But to me it does, you know, and I don't know, I feel good. This has been a really good meeting for me. It's an exceptional meeting, in fact. I think because of where I'm at, you know, with my mom and myself, and in relationship to the program and the people around me. I feel very strongly about friendships, too. They mean a lot to me. And the few friendships that I do have with people in the program, I mean the very close friendships. The friends that you can call anytime, day or night. The people who you can drop in their house and just dump your guts out to them and tell them, hey, this is where I'm at. And they'll sit there and they'll listen, you know, and they won't say a word. They'll just sit there and listen to you no matter how long it takes you. Those kind of friends, the ones who love you unconditionally. That's something I never thought. I thought, you know, I'll love you because of this, or, you know, because of that reason, or because I want this from you. And when people would tell me they loved me, it's like I thought, wow, what do they want? You know, it's like I'd back off and try and figure out what they were trying to manipulate out of me. And today, it's like when someone tells me they love me, that's the way I take it. They love me for what I am, no matter what I am, no matter what I'm going through, you know, that they love me for that. And that's really important to me because I never really knew a lot of love, you know, until I got to this program. And I don't know, it makes me feel good. I really am grateful, and I don't like the word grateful too much either. But when I am, I mean, when it's like overflowing and out of my mouth kind of grateful, and I feel it inside, it's like I want to cry. I'm really an emotional person, if you haven't gathered that. You know, it's like today, that's another thing. I cry very easily. There were some women who got together a couple weeks ago, and one girl was talking, and it's like, what she was saying, I know was coming from her heart. And it's like all of a sudden I started crying and looking around the room, and I wiped the tears real quick because I wanted to hold my image that I'm tough and rugged and I don't cry for anything, which is not true. You know, I'm really finding that I'm really very, I don't want to say emotional, but I have emotions, and I don't keep myself from, I don't try and not express them. You know, I express them whenever I can. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes it's hard. But I don't know, I feel I've grown a lot. That's, to me, from where I came from compared to now, you know, in almost 5 years, I've come a long way. You know, I have definitely made a 180-degree turn, which is amazing to me. You know, knowing me and knowing the kind of person I am, it's really amazing to me. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
My name is John.
Yeah.
My name is John. I'm very grateful drug addict. I don't know. You talking about the 12 steps? I like to back up just a little taste, just before the first one, and tell you how I felt about the whole. It was a bunch of crap to me, you know. And I haven't heard too many dopies say that today. You know, I guess there's some kind of atmosphere here that prevents us from saying, you know, I don't know. But how I felt when I came here, before I came here, was a bunch of bullshit, you know. That was my attitude before I came to Narcotics Anonymous, because that was my old ways, you know. I ate with a spoon most of my life, and my ID card, and had rough toilet paper, and people told me how to live, you know, in jails, in institutions. That's where I came from before I got here. And the 12 steps had very little meaning when I went to my first meeting. You know? My first meeting, I didn't hear a thing about the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, not a thing. What impressed me the most was another addict. You know, was another addict. And the thing that impressed me the most is that he had a great deal of time on the program. And it's the way he said, it's the way he felt, the comfort he had that I had no idea about. I had never been comfortable, clean, and sober. I didn't even know how to stay sober for a long time. And I don't know, I had to investigate myself. And the steps were like secondary that I got into. They were secondary. I had to find out the feelings of the people in Narcotics Anonymous. That was more important to me, you know. How they felt towards me, you know, that they cared for me. Not because I had the bag or didn't have the bag, or, you know, I was in jail, I wasn't in jail, or whatever. I was rich or I was poor or what, you know. And I remember when I first read that little booklet from Narcotics Anonymous meeting, I was in an institution in the toilet with the door closed, all by myself. Because at that time, the environment I was in a nut house. I didn't want people to see me read that piece of literature. Because I had an image to uphold at that time. And at that time, I didn't even know what images are. I've only went to 5th grade in school, and I'm not very intelligent. And perhaps today is my very best vocabulary, you know, because I do cuss a lot. Because I'm learning, I'm learning. I'm going through a process of learning. And the 12 steps do mean a lot to me in my life today, because they don't tell me what to do. Like someone said today, if someone told me what to do today, I would have told them to kiss my ass, because that's how I felt at that time. But they suggest, it's not a human being in the 12 steps telling me, directly at me that I had to do these things. More or less some words suggesting that if I tried to follow these steps, that there's a possibility that things would be better in my life. I never intended to go this far. I have almost 7 years, maybe I'll have 7 years. I had no intentions when I came here to achieve that, to get money, to get anything, to get things that I could sell and not be able to move out. I haven't sold my house yet, and moved out. But I do have a house, I have things. But of all the treasures I do have, I think the 12 steps are the best things that's ever happened in my life. I don't know who wrote them, or how they come about. I'm sure it wasn't, some addicts that did it. I'm sure if they did, it was an accident. Because that's, sometimes I feel I have snuck up on, the time I have leaving sober. I think it's just been, due to some other things that's happened in my life that I had, I don't even know it's a lack of word, but the stupidity of trying these steps to see if they work in my life, and testing them out to prove that you're wrong. Maybe that's what my trip was, to prove that you're wrong. I don't know. It's not, because I have never, I feel bad when I analyze anything. I always come out the short end. But I know that when I took the, like the first step, admitting that it was very difficult to me admit that I was a drug addict. My life was unmanaged. It was very, very difficult because, I thought I managed my life well. I was in prison, and I didn't belong there. I better be in jail. And I had somebody always looking out for me. So, and I thought I managed it because I set myself up so I could go to jail, so I could take care of something. But the second was very difficult to, to admit that I was the power greater than myself to bring me to sanity. Even when I was in a nut house, I couldn't admit that, to bring me back to sanity, and here I was in a nut house. It was very difficult. And the third one is the power greater than myself. No, I don't even. Yeah, to make a decision like God, to make a decision in my life because I didn't know how to make a decision. And sometimes today I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing. But the one thing that I do know is like I didn't use today, and that's the one that I'm pretty sure I did the right thing. Okay. That's about it, see? But I'm grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and the 12 steps and the other literature that's available to me and I haven't took all the steps, by the way. I haven't took all the steps, and when I do take them, I really don't know when I take them. I guess they take me. Because it's not really important that I work this thing perfectly. It even says so in the book that I don't have to be perfect, in my doing all these steps. And the reason why I told you is when you said only 4 months, and I never did. It doesn't ring with me. Somebody say only 4 months, because 4 months is a long time. Because I do drugs about 20 years. When I see someone have 4 months and say only, it bothers me, you know. I don't know why that bothers me, you know. But it bothers me because only, it's like only $20 or only $1 million, you know. Does it mean, to me it seems like, I don't say only 7 years because even when I even think of 7 years, coming up on 7 years, I get scared. I don't like to tell you I'm scared because then you might think that I'm weird, you know, because I'm scared. You know? And I'm scared even today. I'm not a speaker, and I'm still scared, and that's scared of living. I'm scared of trying something new. I was scared of trying the steps. Like I said, the only reason I tried it was to prove you was wrong. But I found out that I found out that all of you aren't wrong, and applying the steps is correct in any kind of way. If you try it any kind of way at all, any half effort, because I haven't done it perfectly, and I've managed to accumulate a great deal of feelings. And to me, that's more than, you know, a great deal of, you know, tangible things where I suppose someone could rip you off of a TV set. But it's very difficult to rip you off of a feeling that you shared with another one person in this program. And I found that to be true. Like, there's a great deal of people in this room today that I've shared my life with, and different ways, you know, and I put myself on the line. And even looked a fool. I even took that chance of looking like a fool. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter one bit. And, you know, like I said, I can't say enough about Narcotics Anonymous. And I want to thank whoever the first guy that got clean was. I don't know who he is. If he had came to, you know, a meeting or sent the guy to the nut house where I was, you know what I mean, and gave him the message, like Johnny Appleseed, well, I wouldn't have got the 12 steps. I wouldn't have started from the beginning. You know? I wouldn't have got, like you said, some people said they had it various different ways. You know? Mine was some individual came to a nut house and told me with clear, crystal eyes and very phenomenal voice, you know, and very relaxed individual, just to tell me what Narcotics Anonymous was all about. And it started something inside me that hasn't finished yet. It hasn't, you know, at times I get, man, fuck Narcotics Anonymous. I get that attitude. This is an attitude that I've had for a long time. I don't give a shit about narcotics. I'm not gonna go to any institution anymore. I'm not gonna do this here. Hell with Wednesday night meeting, you know? I'm not gonna do this. Don't call me up, you know? Anybody calls me up, I'm not home. I always say that, you know? I always say that, but I never do it. I don't know why. And I know that either I'm tired, I haven't had nothing to eat, you know, or I'm bored. You know, there's something's happening or isn't happening in my life, you know, that I'm not applying something. And I just do a little searching of what it is. And I get back to the dope fiend, you know, go down the Skid Row, the one that's staggering out the street, you know, and talk to him. And I go down the Skid Row, and there's not a night I don't go down there. I don't run into a dope fiend that's got out of some recovery house every time I went down there. I see one and talk to him. And just be there. And make it miserable. Because he sees me and he knows where I'm at, you know. You see, because I put myself on the line. Maybe if he's using me, he might think I'm a fool. That's cool. it is not important what he thinks about me. It's important that I try to apply the steps in my life. And if anything is really happening in my life, that I can really transmit some kind of, program to anybody. If that's the case, I don't have to do it purposely. I don't have to plan it. Because if it's really happening, they'll see it. And they can do what they want with that. Because that's what's important. That the 12 steps and me giving it away, you see. Because as long as I can do that, I know that there's purpose, there has been purpose, and there will be purpose in my life. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. My name is Hank and I'm an addict. And one of the things that really attracted me to the program was people. Being from the streets and coming from the family that I came from, just about all of my addiction on the streets, I never felt that nobody really understood what I was going through. I can remember a nephew that I've got, and we were raised in the same house, and went to the same school, had the same people involved in our lives. And during my addiction, he used to ask me sometimes, why are you doing this, And I could never answer, The thought used to always come to me, doesn't understand. And I felt that basically people just didn't understand. When I came to the program and I listened to people, it was, I don't know if it was what they said or how they said it, but it was a feeling that I got. It was like I felt they understood. And I felt that, they had gone through some of the things that I went through. It was like a relief, really. It took me a while also. I balked at the steps. And it's funny, just sitting here today because one of my favorite steps today is the second step, and the reason that it's funny is because when I first came to the program, I thought that once I got the monkey off my back, everything was peaches and cream. I couldn't identify with the insanity. My thinking was, when I heard the word insanity, I thought of somebody locked down or going around mumbling to themselves, in a straight jacket, up until that point I hadn't done that. I didn't know that there was a problem with my thinking. And it's weird as I look back on it now, but that was the case. Today it's like, I go through runs today, and this is after a little over 3 years of being clean and sober. And I can get an idea, and I run with it, and it's like an obsession almost, really. I want to see it all the way through. And at the time that I'm going through it, it does seem like a good idea. Another good benefit of the program also is to have the people that you can call on and know that they understand. Not long ago, I was going through one of my emotional attacks, and I reached the point that I figured I could put some action behind it, so I gave Jimmy a call. And it was like if Jimmy would have known how crazy I was at that particular minute, he would have probably sent the paramedics over there, because I was really wrapped up into this thing, and I didn't really talk to Jimmy. Something just happened after I got off the phone with him. I guess it was just the assurance that somebody understood, where I was coming from. He invited me to come over and talk it over the next day, and that relieved me. By the next day, I felt better, and like today, I'm able to laugh at the situation. I've learned through this program not to take myself too serious. Some of my best ideas led me into the program. I don't know, just through working the steps and just sharing with people and being a part of this program, you know, I've come to an awareness of myself it's really unbelievable. Some of the things I'm doing today, you know, when I look back at my past, it's like unbelievable, really. You know, I didn't even, when I was using, I didn't have dreams of some of the things that I'm doing today. Some of the feelings that I have, you know, for other people, you know. I just didn't care about people. I was afraid of people also when I first came around. And today I care about people, and it's, sometimes I can care about people and it's unconditional, you know, just because they're another addict, you know, and I like that about me, you know, kind of picking out some of the things that I like about myself today, you know, and it's a trip. When I compare myself to where I was before I came to the program, I do think I'm undergoing a 180-degree turn, also in my thinking. It's been a learning experience for me since I've been in the program. It's a good experience, you know. It's a good experience for me. It's just a good feeling for me to be a part of the program. Just to be able to share something, you know. And I felt like a nothing for so long, you know, that it just feels good to be a part of life, to be an asset instead of a liability, you know. And, I'm just grateful to be a part of this. Thank you.
We have 4 more people, so we better,
Yeah.
we get everybody on our tapes because we're running out.
Right,
better
if we could,
try
could
speed
you
it
stop
up.
that for a minute? If we could just try to keep to the essentials, you know, from this point on, I think we'll be a little bit more successful. And try to, I don't know, there's something in Narcotics Anonymous, and I don't know what it is, and it ain't in the pamphlet, it's in the people, and it's something that happens here, okay? I don't know, it's the spirit of the thing, you know? It's the spirituality of Narcotics Anonymous, you know? And somewhere in that, if we could, our next speaker, just try to relate to that, you know? Just that spirit of the thing, you know, of we come here and what happens, you know? You know. Oh, okay, who was our next, we next?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I'm sitting here listening, like, it's hard for me still to share because I'm not used to talking that much in groups yet. I've only been around about 4 months. And I shouldn't say only either. But, actually, like, that is heavy to me because for me to be clean 4 months is like a whale to live out of water. It's just not something conceivable. I haven't been clean for any length of time since I started using drugs, even in the penitentiary. I don't know. My life has mostly been spent in maybe a search for something more worthwhile than just the common everyday living things, because I've, you know, had a number of wives and you know, children and all those things and good jobs that supposedly mean something in our society. And through that, I am a failure at all that stuff and not being content with it. I've always tried to search for like my concept, a personal concept of a power greater than myself, which is like a spiritual awakening. And like this lady said earlier, I've tried orthodox religions and other people's opinions and other people's organizations, and it never worked. I always found that it wasn't, you know, wasn't me. Until, like, I've been exposed to this program off and on forcibly for approximately 10 years. And that is really saying something, considering the fact that just now I have 4 months. I came in a number of times, like I said, with force from the parole officer, force from, you know, mostly from the parole officer, mostly from the courts. But the last time I came in a little differently. I came in, you know, Phil brought me here last time. And I came in with, you know, those things they say, you know, that are the only requirement for our membership, and that's the honest desire to stop using. I didn't come in for a pardon, you know, not to be an addict anymore, or not, you know, I just came in because I was dying inside. I knew it, and like, I came in, you know, at my bottom. I didn't want to live anymore. And that to me was incomprehensible demoralization, because I always felt, even in my addiction or in the penitentiary or something, that it would get better. But I had lost that when I came in. I knew it was as bad as it was going to get, and it wasn't getting no better. I came in with no hope. Like I said, if I could just stop the pain for that day when I came to this program, that would be good enough. Now, as far as what's happened to me since I've been here, it's unbelievable. Like, I still don't feel that comfortable around people. I still don't feel that comfortable sharing and all that. But I'm finding, like, a contentment with life in general, man. And it's through these steps, and like, I've taken, like, the first 6 steps. And I work the 11th step on a, you know, like, sometimes an hourly basis. I still have the thought to use a lot. But by, you know, maintaining a conscious contact with my higher power, and realizing that no matter what happens in this life, man, all I have to do is work on acceptance. And that's acceptance of people, acceptance of places, and acceptance of God's will. When I'm the most fucked up, man, as I find, is when I'm running things, when I'm out there, you know, trying to get my will taken care of. When I find that I don't judge people, and I just accept them for being that place at that time, and that's God's will for them, or that situation is God's will for someone to benefit, maybe it's not necessarily me, then I learn that I can be comfortable, and I can accept things. It's like, it's hard to explain. It's not like something I can just lay out here and let everybody look at. I wish I could, because I know I wish someone could have done that for me when I first came around. But then it wouldn't be a personal thing either if I could just give it to someone. It's very personal to me, and I know it's a taste of that spiritual awakening. It's a taste of maybe being restored to sanity. I've done the things that are required. I try to take direction. I have a good sponsor. If I would have made a list, like I said when I came in here, of what I wanted in sobriety, and what, you know, in the way of material things, or even where my head's at, there's no way that I could hope to have what I have now. I would have never even conceived of it. I came in with the material things already. I had a good job, a car, a good old lady, and, you know, a nice pad, and I lost all that. And you know what I've got now inside of me, in my heart, that was nothing to pay for all that. That was the minimal price. I mean, I for the first time feel like I'm not playing the part, like I'm here among people that are like me and that accept me for being me, have the same fears, have the same inadequacies, have the same weaknesses as me, maybe in more or lesser degrees in certain areas, but we're all the same. And I never felt like that out there in the world. I always felt like, well, I'll play the part, you know. I either felt better than or less than, always. And I don't feel that way here. I feel like, you know, that identification of one addict helping another. We all have the same purpose. They talk in it, our big book is like survivors of a shipwreck. We all are. You know, we all are survivors of our addiction. And like, if it ended tomorrow, what I've even gotten this far would be well worth the effort I've put in. I accept God's will for me in all areas of my life. When I don't, that's when I get uncomfortable, and that's when I get the desire to use. I work these steps. I work them, man, on an hourly basis sometimes minute by minute. I am powerless in all areas of my life, and when I don't realize that powerlessness or not accept it, is when I really get fucked up. I don't know, like, I have hope today. I have a lot of hope for my future, and I have a whole lot of hope for God's will for me. I feel like that in time, you know, that my contact with my higher power will become a lot more consistent, and I'll have a better understanding. But right now I have a concept, and that alone is well worth are worth more than I ever hoped for from this program. I know that the fellowship is mandatory because these people have shown me how they achieve that and let me take little pieces here and there and let me share them. Maybe someone can get something from me that'll help them come to some kind of understanding. I don't know, like I've spent maybe 10 years of my life locked in prisons and institutions. And every time I came back out, I thought I had the game down a little bit better and I would make it. And finally I did. I made it for 2 years and it almost killed me. I know this is the answer for me, this program. That's one I have no doubt about. And as long as I keep my priorities straight, and that's the only one I got to work is the first step to 100%. I've got to not use. And that I'm doing. I'm a success. And that's a trip because I ain't never been no success at nothing. I really care to be. I don't know. Things are happening in my life that I can't really even talk about. It's just like in all areas it does work. It's a program for living. And I'm learning to live. I'm learning to laugh. I haven't learned to cry yet, but I'm working on it. That's a big one to me. Everybody laughs, but like I've even gone to my mother's grave and tried to cry, and I can't do it, but I feel like it's possible and time it'll come. And I don't know. I guess this is me trying to give back a little of all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
David, I'm an addict.
Hi, David.
Spirituality. I always wanted those, wisdom seekers, even in my using. Looking for things that are kind of way out, fitting my personality, I guess. Insanity. I felt a lot of insanity when I got to the program. The lack of communicating with people, it was almost impossible, just because where I was at. I guess one of the first realizations I had was that the way my using was totally against living, and it was completely insane, for me to try and kill myself. But that's what I was attempting to do. Only stretch it out as long as possible. I guess that was a very healthy realization to have early. I was very much a taker, and not in the sense of material things, taking things from people, but manipulating and drawing on them emotionally to manipulate. And not out of fear of payback or anything like that. It's just because I have the opportunity to give back in whatever way I can. I try and take advantage of that. And I feel good about being able to do that in any kind of way, to carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous in any way. So it's that has a lot to do with my concept of spirituality. As far as what I might feel of God's will is, I know I really don't know. For me, I do whatever I want to do, like a lot of people do. I believe most people. Only my choices are more practical and more reasonable, and none of them really go against living or go against my physical freedom from being locked down or being any place that I don't want to be. When all the time before it was taking a risk of being someplace I didn't want to be or being dead, and doing things that I didn't want to do. So it's very much just a living scene for me. I like to often confuse it with where I'd like to be emotionally or spiritually, and I can't really control that. I can strive for things, but I can't control necessarily, situations in my life to make it the way I want to be. So I feel I'm best at, or more comfortable with, putting back into this program and into the fellowship whatever I can, that might seem to help. For me to get out of myself it's a real treat. For me to not be totally self-obsessed for a few moments is kind of nice. Because I'm usually not self-obsessed about things that are the best for me. So I don't really look at it as owing a lot to this program. It's just that I'd like to give a lot.